Hey everybody, welcome back to Soul School with a very special guest host, LJ Reynolds of the Dramatics and also himself. Very, very excited. It's not often you get one of your heroes to sit down and actually just sit down and talk with you. You have a great new project going for you on Vault Records.
Vault
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, Vault Records was the Dramatics' home with their first big record, which is What You See Is What You Get. Back in the 70s, 1971, Stax Vault Records was one of the biggest R&B labels that was around besides Motown, because they had the Dramatics, they had Isaac Hayes, Soul Children, the Emotions. They had a ton of people over there that were cutting up pretty good records. And we did about a good 10, 15-year run on that label, and we later moved to MCA ABC, which we did me and Mrs. Jones's, Be My Girls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what happened was that label went out of print, and Fantasy Records.
Now Fantasy is your distributor for this new project.
For my new album. Fantasy Records had purchased the Vault Stax label name, and it was just sitting there.
Wow.
And I said, you know, with a friend of mine, Fred Pittman, Mike Powell, we went up to Fantasy Records and we talked to my good friend Phil Jones, and we said, why don't we regenerate this label? Vault Records is a great, well-known label, and it needs to be back into the marketplace.
This is a real big-time thing that you're talking about, because, so we don't lose you out there, Mike Powell, this producer that he's talking about, this cat is real bad. That Rapture album, Nita Baker is on, he did a lot of work on that album, so this is a heavy, heavy dude we talking about.
Well, Mike produced half of my album, half of my new solo CD, and so the company decided that we can do this. They wanted to get back into the record industry, back into the business, so we decided to come out with the new LJ Reynolds CD. This is my new solo project, and the album is called Love Is About to Start. Did you get a close-up of that? I'm only serious. And the album is produced by Michael Powell and LJ Reynolds, myself. And the album features, just to give you a small concept for the album features the Dramatics on one song called Don't Go There, which is a great song produced by Michael Powell. And he did some great young-sounding things on this album. Also, I did a remake of a song on my first solo single when I first left the Dramatics, which was called Key to the World. I redid it, I'm getting a great response from that. And also I redid Silly, which was originally
Denise Williams
and Tom Bell.
Right.
And on one of my other solo records, I did Call Me by Aretha Franklin on one of my Capitol records. And I've always liked to redo records. Like when we did Me and Mrs. Jones over, we did our version.
You know what? I'm glad you coined that like that, because I'm generally not one for remakes unless somebody wears the song the way that they would.
You see what I'm saying?
Present.
And I listen to a lot of acts do records over. If you go back and listen
to y'all cut Me and Mrs. Jones, did you? Oh,
Me and Mrs. Jones.
Jesus.
That was produced by Ron Banks and myself, and that gave it the flavor. Now, if you go back and listen to a record Call Me by Aretha Franklin that I did on the Capitol label, I took that record and made it for me. Well, I did the same thing with Silly on this album here, and you'll see that, matter of fact, Denise likes it herself, so she had the opportunity to hear it about a year ago. And it took me about 3 years to do this album, so it's a lot of work and effort. And the new single is called I Didn't Mean to Hurt You. So look for it.
Is that going to be the first single that's actually going to drop for us airplay rotation, you feel?
The first single is I Didn't Mean to Hurt You, which is currently on the air right now.
Okay.
And it's a big record in my hometown, Detroit. I guess they're a little bit ahead of the game, but I'm telling you, don't miss this record because it's got the right stuff.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Soul School Television. In case you've just joined us, we're joined by somebody actually who should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the Dramatics, but that's a whole lot of political.
We're getting it.
Oh, really?
Well, we did the Hall of Fame. They called us in, and we did the show, and we sit down and we got on stage and talked to him.
How long ago?
About maybe 4 months ago.
Right on.
And they filmed it. And
You were there in March when Earth, Wind & Fire and all those cats got inducted around the same time?
Yeah, we were there before that.
Okay.
But we weren't to be inducted at the time.
Just at the, yeah.
But usually they get you to that first point.
Okay.
They get to the second point. So it looked like the Dramatics will be inducted in the Hall of Fame, but hopefully it'll be before I leave here.
No, I mean, you know, I don't like to get negative, but I've always felt that most of our heroes really go really unlooked. For the most part, I guess mainstream America, what they feel is safe. But, you know, groups like you guys, the Whispers and other groups who definitely deserve to get in, usually never get in until, like you say, after we're gone. You know, they love, it's like people love the dead.
Yeah.
You know? But getting back positive here, definitely get to your Tower Records, Amoeba Records, Rasputin's Records, Records. Anywhere out here in the area and pick this up. This is L.J. Reynolds' new album, Vault Records, that they've actually reclaimed, as well as being distributed by the Great Fantasy Records, which is a major distributor over in Berkeley. And I've heard it, can't say enough about it. Anything before we close, Broham?
Well, you know, like we said, we regenerated that label, and I know there's a lot of talent in this area.
Oh,
so,
not to cut you off, a lot of talent that actually played on those sessions as well, because I even think of, you know, we have mutual friends, Joseph Van Fiddler, keyboard player. He's bad. He's a actual monster.
Butch Small.
Yeah, Carl Butch Small.
James Jamerson Jr., if you're familiar with the original bass player for all of Motown's hits, James Jamerson Sr., his son is playing on this particular album that I know.
In case you don't know who Carl Butch Small is, he was a percussion player with Michael Henderson, Phyllis Hyman,
Snoop Doggy Dogg, Dr. Dre.
Like everybody you can think of, he's bad boy, you know, so just, I don't like to neglect great people who are actually, you know, as opposed to just saying that, okay, this is something I threw together. No, we got some heavyweights on this project.
You know, speaking about Michael Powell, I forgot to mention a very talented lady who we signed on the Vogue label. She has a brand new hip-hop record out. And this is the album. Her name is Anjanette. And it's a great album produced by Michael Powell. And also she has a single out. What did I do with her
single?
Matter
of fact,
here's a single radio.
Just so we don't lose you as well, I don't know if y'all remember Chapter 8, but Michael Powell was also a member of Chapter 8. Yeah, Anita Baker was in that group before, I think before she even cut Angel. So Michael Powell has been around and has been bad for like a long time.
Well, you know, and right now he's currently in the studio with some of the biggest young acts and he does big acts too, like Aretha Franklin, Barbra Streisand. I mean, this guy is really down, so you gotta listen to this stuff if you want to really enjoy some great music.
Yeah, and I think that's a real key. I always like to, I'm glad you brought that up real quick before we get out of here. Music. I really enjoy myself when I get around cats like yourself, because people don't understand that music is just as important and is just as serious as chemistry, science, and mathematics. It's definitely, you know, something to it. And what do you think now? What do you think of what's going on with music now? Is this something that kind of bothers you at times, you know, kids really not learning how to play? Or, like I said, with synthesizers and other things, I guess drum programming. Do you miss working with cats like James Gatson and getting in the studio, or technology has simplified it to a degree where it could be better, you know, used properly? Well,
you know, coming up in my era, I enjoy getting on the drums and physically playing the drums. I play the drums. I played on dramatic records. I play the bass. I've been playing for years. I played on a lot of the records that I produced, Stop Your Weeping, that I wrote on the dramatics. I've always enjoyed that first on hand kind of thing by putting the records together. You'll still hear some of that in my new album, but you'll also hear the changing times. You got to change with the times.
Oh, for sure.
And there is some good music out there with this new technology, and there is some pretty strange things happening in the industry. What bothers me the most, I like some of the things that I hear, and it don't bother me that the new sound of music, which is the technology part. Some of the music don't have, the lyrics are not totally, so it seems like the song is not finished, and it's just that they, you know, they riff all the way through a song. But I think that there's a market for everything and everybody, but the most disturbing part about it is some of the things that go on in rap music. And we did some things. We cut some records with Snoop Doggy Dogg, and these people are friends of ours. But a lot of young people, and I watched this at my own home with my nephews and my nieces and young people, they believe a lot of that stuff that they see on those rap videos, and they worship these people, and I think it turns people, it gives people, you lose morals, and if you look at it like you're looking at maybe a movie, but young people don't do that, and it gets them in trouble. That's the only thing about, I think they need to put a logo on rap music. You watch it, be careful, like you do cigarettes, it might cause cancer. Well, watch this at your own risk, or watch it as
mindful.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly.
It's just that they believe this stuff so much, and I watch people get in a lot of trouble. And I don't think rap music intends to do that.